Singer Katy Perry reportedly under investigation after a assault allegation from Australian actress Ruby Rose.
The Orange is the new black star accuses Perry of assaulting her at a Melbourne nightclub nearly 20 years ago.
Katy Perry has had a rough couple of years. A flopped album, a very public breakup, internet mockery over a space trip, and a world tour that is basically the only thing keeping her name in positive headlines. But nothing, and we mean absolutely nothing, compares to what hit her in April 2026. One social media post from one person flipped her entire world upside down in less than 48 hours. And now, there is an active police investigation on the other side of the planet. A growing list of names from the past and a silence from Perry's team that is somehow more uncomfortable than anything they have actually said. Here is everything we know. The post that started a police investigation. It all started with a joke about Justin Bieber. On the night of April 12, 2026, Bieber headlined his first ever Coachella set. During the performance, he mixed in old footage of himself as a teenager from YouTube, which got mixed reactions online. Katy Perry, who was at Coachella that same weekend, posted a quick jab on her Instagram making fun of the set. A music publication called Complex picked up her comment and turned it into a post on Threads. That is where Australian actress and model Ruby Rose saw it. And her reply was not a joke. It was not a clapback in the usual sense. It was an accusation that stopped the internet cold. Rose wrote on Threads that Katy Perry had violated her at Spice Market nightclub in Melbourne, Australia. She said she had been lying on her best friend's lap, trying to avoid Perry when it happened. She said the incident was specific, graphic, and something she had carried for almost 2 decades. She told Perry she was welcome to take her to court because the event was real. It happened in public, she had photos, and there were witnesses. Then she did something that moved this from a social media drama into actual legal territory. She walked into a Melbourne police station and filed a formal report. 2 days later, on April 15, 2026, Melbourne's Offences and Child Abuse Investigation Team, known as SOSATE, released an official statement confirming they were looking into a historical incident that allegedly occurred at a licensed venue in Melbourne's Central Business District in the year 2010. The statement did not name Katy Perry or Ruby Rose. It did not need to. The entire internet already knew exactly who it was about. Here is something important to understand about SOCIT. This is not a regular police unit that handles general complaints. This team was built specifically for sensitive cases involving bodily violations and victimization of minors. There are around 400 specially trained officers working within this system across 28 locations in the state of Victoria. Every detective in the unit completes a dedicated training course before they are allowed to work on these cases. They work alongside trauma counselors and forensic experts. When SOCIT picks up a case, it is taken seriously. And here is the detail that makes this legally significant. Victoria, the Australian state where Melbourne is located, has no time limit on when charges can be filed for these types of offenses. That means something that allegedly happened in 2010 can still result in charges being filed today, in 2026, or even 20 years from now. The clock does not run out. If the evidence holds, a prosecution is still possible. Rose later posted one final update on Threads. She said she had completed all of her reports and that police had asked her not to discuss the case or the individuals involved publicly anymore. She said it was actually a relief. She said she could finally begin to heal. Then she went silent. That silence matters. When someone who had been posting multiple times a day suddenly stops talking, it usually means one thing: the formal process has officially begun. and they are now under the guidance of legal counsel and investigators. What triggered all of this in the first place, though, is worth understanding properly. Katy Perry was not just a random celebrity making a Bieber joke that weekend. She was at Coachella with her new partner, former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The two of them had shown up in matching outfits, basically confirming their relationship to the world. Perry was in a loud, playful, publicly visible mood. The Bieber post was part of that energy. Ruby Rose saw it, and 15 years of silence ended in a single reply. What Katy Perry's team said and what it actually means. Within 48 hours of Rose's post going viral, a representative for Katy Perry released a statement. Most people read it and moved on. But if you slow down and look at the actual words chosen, the statement is doing something very specific. The rep called the allegations categorically false, dangerous, and reckless lies. The statement then added that Rose had a well-documented history of making serious public allegations on social media against various individuals, and that those claims had repeatedly been denied by the people named. On the surface, this looks like a standard denial from a celebrity publicist. It is not. Every word in that statement was chosen carefully. The word categorically shuts down any argument that part of the story might be true. The word reckless suggests the person making the claim acted without regard for consequences, which is relevant language in a legal context. The phrase well-documented history sets up a pattern of behavior argument. This is not PR writing. This reads like the first step in a potential defamation lawsuit. Here is why that matters. Australia has very different defamation laws compared to the United States. In America, a public figure trying to sue someone for defamation has to prove the person who made the claim acted with deliberate malice. That is an extremely hard bar to clear. In Australia, it works the other way around. The person who made the statement has to prove that what they said was true. If they cannot prove it, they lose automatically. This is exactly why Australia has become a preferred location for celebrities pushing back against public claims. Nicole Kidman has used Australian courts. Geoffrey Rush won a case there and walked away with close to $3 million in damages. Rebel Wilson won a significant payout through the same system. The Katy Perry team statement reads like the opening move in that exact playbook. But there is a risk in filing a lawsuit too. If Perry sues Rose in Australia, a legal process called discovery kicks in. That means Perry would also have to hand over her own records, communications, and witnesses. If there is anything in those records that supports Rose's account even slightly, it could make things significantly worse for Perry. That might be exactly why, despite the aggressive language in the rep's statement, no lawsuit has actually been filed yet. One day after her team released the statement, Perry posted something personal on her own Instagram story. She did not address Rose directly. She did not mention the police investigation. She posted the cover image of her song By the Grace of God from her 2013 album Prism and wrote the words, "I love you" over it. Fans immediately pulled up the lyrics. One line in particular got screenshotted thousands of times. It talks about the truth setting you free. People argued for hours about what she meant by it. Some thought it was a message to God. Some thought it was aimed at Rose. Some thought it was a message to her own fans to stay loyal. Whatever it meant, that post was the only personal communication Perry made during the entire controversy. Every other word came through her representative. For a woman who built her career on being loud and present, that kind of quiet is striking. The nightclub, the timeline, and the detail that changes everything. To understand what is actually being investigated, you need to know about Spice Market. Spice Market was a nightclub that opened in 2009 in Melbourne's Central Business District. It was located in the basement of a building on Beanie Lane, directly next to the Grand Hyatt Hotel on Collins Street. The club was designed to look like a Moroccan courtyard, complete with a fountain, antique-style entrances, and a capacity of around 600 people. Inside, there was a VIP section called the Genie Bottle. That was where celebrities went when they were in the building. On the night of August 6, 2010, Katy Perry was in Melbourne promoting California Girls. Her album Teenage Dream was about to drop, and she was in full promotional mode. Earlier that same evening, she famously crashed a Year 12 high school formal being held at the Grand Hyatt Hotel. She danced with students, someone filmed it, and the footage was picked up by entertainment media. That video still exists online today. After the formal, Perry and her group walked next door to Spice Market. Ruby Rose was also there that night. According to the former manager of the club, the two women came in together, along with Perry's hair and makeup person and a male friend of Rose's. The manager described it as a chaotic evening from a security standpoint. 600 people were inside. Perry kept going out to the main floor to dance with the crowd, which made the security team nervous. Most of the night was spent in the Genie Bottle VIP area. The manager said both women had been drinking. When the night ended, staff organized a car and driver and escorted both Perry and Rose out through a fire exit to avoid photos. The manager said he believed the two of them then went on to another Melbourne venue called the Peel Hotel. The manager also said something that is very specific in its wording. He said he was not aware of any misconduct during the evening. He was not aware of anyone getting sick. Notice what that sentence does not say. It does not say it did not happen. It says he was not aware of it. That is a very precise way to respond, and it is exactly the kind of language a legal advisor would recommend. Now here is the twist that very few people have picked up on. Spice Market closed permanently on January 1st, 2026. That was only 3 months before Rose posted her accusation on Threads. On the club's final night, they held a closing sale and posted a farewell message on social media. When Victoria Police opened their investigation 3 months later, the venue was already gone. The ownership had dissolved. Staff records were likely unavailable. Any physical evidence connected to the space had scattered. And any security footage from that night? Gone. Australian nightclubs in 2010 typically kept surveillance footage for about 30 days before wiping it. That footage has been deleted for well over 15 years. What that means for the investigation is significant. There is no camera record of that evening. There are no social media posts from inside the club, because Instagram did not launch until October of that same year. The night in question happened in a narrow window before smartphone cameras were documenting everything in real time. The only evidence that exists now is the memory of the people who were there, and whatever private photographs Ruby Rose claims to have held on to for 16 years. The entire case lives or dies on people and paper. Nothing else. The old article that complicated everything. Here is where the story gets genuinely complicated. Because Ruby Rose wrote about that night in Melbourne before. And what she wrote back then sounds nothing like what she is saying now. In 2011, Rose published a column online. In it, she described the night at Spice Market as a funny story about falling off the wagon. She had been sober for 30 days, she wrote. She decided to have just one drink. She did not stop at one. She described the evening as getting out of hand and ending with her being sick near Katy Perry. She framed the whole thing as a cautionary tale about drinking. She called it losing her dignity spectacularly. She mentioned nothing about being mistreated. She made it sound like an embarrassing but almost comical evening. That column resurfaced within hours of her Threads posts going viral. People on both sides of the argument immediately grabbed onto it. Those skeptical of her current account pointed to the column as proof that her story had changed. Supporters argued that the column actually confirmed the two women were together at the venue that night, and that the way Rose framed the experience as a funny story was itself a sign of how people process traumatic events. Rose addressed this directly on Threads. She explained that she turned the incident into a lighthearted drunk story because she did not know how else to cope with what had happened. She also revealed something significant. In the period after that night, Katy Perry had helped her secure a United States visa. Rose said she stayed silent partly because of that help. She felt she owed Perry something, and speaking out did not feel like an option. That explanation points to a real and well-documented pattern in cases like this. When a person who experienced wrongdoing has something to lose by speaking out, especially when the person they are accusing holds power over their career or opportunities, silence becomes the easier choice. Research consistently shows that people in these situations can take anywhere from a decade to never before going on the record. Rose was in her early 20s at the time. She is now 40. She has said clearly that it took nearly 20 years for her to feel ready to say this publicly. But the 2011 column is going to be a significant problem if this case ever goes to court. In defamation law, a written account from close to the time of the event that contradicts the current story carries real weight. Perry's legal team, if they pursue a lawsuit, will almost certainly use that column as their central piece of evidence. They will argue that Rose herself described the night very differently when it was fresh in her memory. They will argue the current version has been reshaped over time. It does not legally prove that nothing happened, but it does create a credibility question that any judge or prosecutor would have to weigh carefully. And that is exactly what makes this case so difficult to predict. The truth of that night may never be fully established in a courtroom, but the public conversation around it has already shifted something that is very hard to shift back. The other names that surfaced and where this goes. Next, once Rose's post went viral, the internet did what the internet always does. It started digging. And what it found was a trail of older accounts involving Katy Perry that had been largely forgotten or dismissed when they first came out. In 2014, actress Anna Kendrick appeared on a late-night television show and told a story about meeting Perry at an awards event. She said Perry touched her in a way that made her uncomfortable. She used the word aggressive to describe it. The studio audience laughed. Conan laughed. Everyone treated it like a funny anecdote. When that clip resurfaced during this scandal, the same moment landed very differently. In 2019, Josh Kloss, a male model who starred in the music video for Perry's hit Teenage Dream, posted a detailed account on Instagram. He alleged that Perry pulled down his clothing at a private party in front of a group of her friends, exposing him without his consent. He said he felt humiliated. The post was later deleted. Two people close to Perry publicly said Kloss had been fixated on her for years. Perry herself never responded to him directly. Also in 2019, Georgian-Russian television host Tina Kandelaki stated publicly that Perry had behaved inappropriately toward her at a private gathering, including allegedly attempting unwanted physical contact. Her account was covered in Russian and Georgian media before slowly reaching English-speaking outlets. Perry's team did not respond to it. In 2018, a 19-year-old named Benjamin Glaze auditioned on American Idol. He told the judges he had never been kissed. Perry invited him forward and kissed him on the lips without him expecting it. He later told a newspaper that the moment had unsettled him and that he had wanted to save that experience for someone he was in a relationship with. He did not label it as misconduct, but he was clear that it had shaken him. Perry never addressed it. When you lay all of these accounts out side by side, a pattern becomes visible. Every single situation involved someone with significantly less power or fame than Perry at the time. Every single situation involved a physical boundary being crossed, usually under the cover of being playful or spontaneous. And in every single case, Perry never personally addressed the account. A spokesperson responded, or nobody responded at all. As for where the current investigation goes, that depends on several moving parts. SOCIT detectives need to decide whether the evidence they gather is strong enough to pass on to prosecutors. The witnesses from that night, Perry's hair and makeup person, Rose's male friend, the driver, and the club staff, may already be receiving contact from investigators. Rose has said she has photographs from that evening. If she provides those to police and they corroborate her account in any way, the direction of the investigation changes significantly. There is also the question of whether Perry's team files a defamation lawsuit in Australia. If they do, the legal process that follows could force both sides to surface evidence and witnesses in ways that neither camp can fully control. Right now, it is still early. The investigation is ongoing. No charges have been filed. Nothing has been proven. But the conversation has changed. And that conversation is not going away. If multiple people across more than a decade described similar experiences with the same person, and each time it was either laughed off, ignored, or buried under a publicist's statement, at what point does the pattern itself become the story? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. For more interesting stories like this, be sure to click on the next video that pops up on your screen. You never know what you'll discover next.